The history from 1,000 years ago in ancient Rome always seems to crop back up in the modern world. Social media always seems to symbolically give clues on the repeating themes on Earth.
A viral video that's sparking a lot of surprising conversation between men and women on TikTok. Take a look.
How many times, like a week, or just how many times in general, do you think about the Roman Empire?
Not a lot.
How often? Once every month?
Maybe 3 or 4 times a month.
You think about the Roman Empire once a week?
It has a lot of big, stories and lessons, within the Roman Empire of what to do and what not to do, so yeah.
So you think
I don't have time to dive into this. I have an answer for it, but yeah, once a week. In just 24 hours, that post with the hashtag Roman Empire has gotten 6 million views, with women asking the men in their lives exactly how often they think about the Roman Empire. Take a look.
How often do I think about it?
Yeah.
I don't know, I guess technically every day.
Honestly, probably 2 to 3 times a day.
What?
I don't know, probably 3 or 4 times a week I think about it.
You're kidding.
We cannot talk about the riches of athletic entertainment in ancient Rome without speaking on the significance of the Coliseum. The Circus Maximus was built in the 6th century BC, which means the Coliseum, built in 80 AD, was an extension to their entertainment. 396 years before the fall of the Roman Empire, officially in 476 AD. 68% of the Roman Empire reign stood before the building of the Coliseum. Let's hypothetically take a look at how much the Coliseum cost to build in relation to the modern US dollar.
How much, in modern dollars, did the Coliseum cost to build? And how much would it cost to build an exact replica today? We'll start with the first question. The Romans reckoned costs in sestertii, big brass coins worth a quarter of a denarius. At the time the Coliseum was built, 1 sestertius could buy 2 loaves of bread, 4 cups of cheap wine, or a single cup of good wine. A tunic cost about 15 sestertii, and rent for a decent apartment was probably between 300 and 500 sestertii each year. The average annual wage for an unskilled laborer was around 1,000 sestertii. So, how much did it cost to build the Coliseum 19 centuries ago? Adding up the estimates I've given to this point brings us to 86 million sestertii. This, I suspect, is still too low, since basic estimates, on the basis of material, fail to account for the many challenges of constructing a building on the Coliseum's scale. So let's say, just to have a nice round figure we can work with, that construction cost something on the order of 100 million sestertii. This was a lot of money. The average annual income for a Roman laborer was around 1,000 sestertii. Imperial Roman senators, who were required to own property worth at least 1 million sestertii, were very wealthy men. It is impossible to convert Roman sestertii to modern currency with any accuracy. But if we assume, on the basis of comparative prices, that an early imperial sestertius had the purchasing power of $20, the Colosseum cost the equivalent of $2 billion, about as much, in other words, as a very expensive modern stadium. If, as it seems, the cost of producing a modern replica would be half that figure, or even less, the difference is a testimony to modern construction technology, whose efficiencies counterbalance the vastly higher costs of modern labor.
Around $2 billion in today's world in comparison to late-stage Rome's economic standing, which is very similar pricing to what is currently being built in the possible late-stage American empire. Taking the most expensive outlier of SoFi Stadium in Los Angeles that was built for $5.5 billion in 2020, number 2 on the list is $1.9 billion for Alliance Stadium in Las Vegas in 2019. Most modern-day stadiums have a cost just under $2 billion.
The NFL is turning you down. I ask for the favor of telling you myself. Vera, you're really going to walk away from this bed. Sports franchises are how we unite people in this country. And you're not royalty. You're a robber baron.
There is a sneaky connection with the National Football League, which is the modern-day Roman sport of choice, adding games to their schedule when American inflation grows at a rate higher than normal. The NFL moved from 14 games to 16 games in 1978. The Great Inflation period of America was in the 1970s, but the bulk of it was in the late 70s. While it may be surprising to some that the average inflation rate for the decade as a whole was only 6.8%, this rate is double the long-run historical average and nearly triple the rate of the previous 2 decades. In addition to the high average inflation rate, Americans were plagued by extremely variable inflation rates during the 1970s. Then, in March of 2021, 43 years later, the NFL moved from 16 games to 17 games, which transpired in conjunction with the infamous COVID pandemic era inflation. After 4 decades of low U.S. inflation, high inflation emerged as a central economic problem of the COVID era. As of September 2022, the rate of CPI inflation over the previous 12 months was 8.2%. By the time of Nero's reign, 54 AD to 68 AD, the denarius had been gradually debased by diluting the silver with copper. This telltale sign of inflation continued until it was essentially replaced in the 3rd century AD. Late-stage Rome was already in a high inflationary environment. Are you starting to see the parallels to today? So by the time Gaius was finally born in 104 AD, 372 years before the fall of Rome, at the 70% completed mark, the silver denarius had already been debased to 80% of its original value. Athletes being paid enormous amounts of money is in connection to the times we are living in. Diocles and the wealth he amassed in his career in connection to the world of 2023 may seem separate, but connect together in a staggering way, because history always repeats itself. And the key word is inflation.